All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is Daf Sadi Vav Sav. So we left off yesterday discussing a case where a person steals something, and then there are improvements.
Okay.
So Sadi Vav. Here, I'll find it for you.
Okay. Thank you.
So the improvements now, obviously, the item has to be returned, but what do you pay in terms of the value? So we saw a couple of different shitas. If he acquires it, some say that he splits it afterwards. Some say that you assess it at the time, and therefore all the shevach belongs to the new guy or to the gazlan. So we left off at the bottom, 3 lines to the bottom of Tzadi Hayim and Beis. So Amarle, Baha Maisim, please.
My grandfather's yard site today.
Neshama Shem Aliyah.
Marina.
Chaver. What was it? Yitzchak. Moreno. Chaver man. Neshama Shem Aliyah. So we say Baha Maisim B'Chol Yoy B'Chol Gavi B'Chol Magni Shmuel. So we said we wanted to differentiate. It says, oh no. When is land, in other words, the shevach go with the land? That's when it's basically still growing. It hasn't reached full maturity and full height. But once it gets basically to your shoulder height, so then it's already waiting to be harvested, and therefore it's separated. And therefore that is sort of divided like a sharecropper would divide. So you say, Shmuel even collects the stuff and then gives, and then if a person's, what happened, the case was if someone stole the land and sold it to somebody else, and then the original owner came to the buyer, so he goes ahead and takes everything, even the stalks that would reach the shoulders. I feel the shevach coming to get the right? Even if it grew, be it to the shoulders. The masik be kashir ara v'shivcha. So it's like this. So let's say we have the case, right? So let's say I stole land from Eddie and I sold it to Mark. Okay, so let's say I stole a lot of things or let's go ahead and do it differently. Let's say there's a loan in this case, right? There's a creditor, and Eddie needs to go ahead, and I defaulted on the loan, and there was collateral. And so Eddie goes to collect the collateral. So meanwhile, I sold the collateral to Mark. So he has possession of the collateral. Eddie's okay, pay me the money, the $100,000. He said, I don't got. So he goes to Mark. So Mark says, I bought this land and it's worth like $125,000. Eddie says, perfect. That land is Yoa owed me $125,000. So therefore, in that case, since the amount that you were seizing was the amount of the land plus the shevach, even though it's shevach that has basically fully matured, ready to be harvested, Eddie can go ahead and seize that. But where
like ribbons.
Well, it's not ribbons. So I took all the what's it called from you? I mean, I owe you $125,000.
Oh,
so you collected it.
But
right. Excuse me. But if it was a case of where Eddie was, I only owed Eddie $100,000, and he seizes the $125,000's worth from Mark. So then that's the case where he has to go ahead and reimburse or pay, in terms of that Mark grew it on behalf of Eddie, and therefore they go ahead and divide it. So
the 25,000 was a shevach.
That was the shevach that was done by the buyer from the person who had land. Now, thank you. So
the crops grow by stalks. All the crops that they grow by stalks.
I guess whatever fully mature. Yeah, I guess whenever things are fully matured, ripe, and ready to be picked. I mean, that's why I assume that the full height means they're ready to be harvested. So Gemara says, "Amalei." So So this works out according to, let's say Mark had cash. So Mark says, Eddie, what do you need? You need 100K? Okay, here's a check for 100K. Leave me and my land alone. Okay, so that works according to the opinion who says you're not allowed to do that. That if the lokeach, who was in this case Mark, had some cash, he can tell Eddie, don't see the land, here's the cash. So Mark could say like this, even if he had no money. If I had money, I could have paid you off whatever Yoel owed you. right? He's a deadbeat. But hashta, nevertheless now, havli gira du'ara shir shivchai. At least allow me like this. Right now, the land is 125,000, right? 100,000 was for the land, 25,000 was the improvement. So Marcus said like this, okay, it's like I have $25,000 cash. Go ahead, take the cash, right? You get the improvements, and leave me a quarter of the land left. Why? Because that's at least 25%. So it's like I almost paid you 25,000, and then you collected $75,000 from the value of the land.
And that's because I had the previous lien on that.
Right. So as you lent me money. I say, okay, yo, where's your collateral? So this is parcel of land. Don't worry, it'll be here whenever you ever need to collect it if I don't pay you back. Lo and behold, a year later, I didn't pay you back. He said, okay, where's the land? I said, oh, sold it to Mark. So that was the case when you were going to Mark trying to get payment. So in this case, let Mark at least use the shevach as cash to buy some of the land back. In other words, it wasn't just a regular lien on all of Yoel's assets. Rather, it was in the potiki that this is going to be the land that you collect from. So therefore, even in that case, the cash won't be able to go ahead and Mark's cash won't, or even the shevach won't be able to prevent Eddie from collecting this land. Fine. 2 dots, second to last skinny line on Sadi Vavamanal. So, let's say a person goes ahead and he steals and he improves the land and he sells it, or he goes ahead and he steals and he improves it, that he died, and then he bequeaths it to his, let's say, his son. So, right? That which if the guy went ahead and did improvements to it, so therefore he did the improvements, so therefore he's able to go ahead and sell those improvements, right? Those improvements don't go to the original owner. So by Rava, let's say like this. Let's say I steal land from I stole land from Eddie again, and then I sell it to Mayor, and Mayor approves it. Mm-hmm. So normally we say, Mahu Basar the by sorry,
we say you can't steal land. You shouldn't steal land. It's not something that you was stealing land. You just sit on it over there, or was stealing land.
So we'll go back to what we said yesterday, because the Shita says you can't steal land, but that. So over here, now when he's using, he makes a chazak on it, and therefore now he's using it right on his.
I just kick him off, or didn't realize it.
Mm-hmm. Right until later on, and then so he's on it. So.
Amen. Wow. Get out of here. There's my deed. I own it.
So in that case, if somebody else made a chazaka, then right now they're the rightful owner until you can prove otherwise. So obviously you have the deed, then it would all go back. But the question is, let's say there are improvements done to it. So who gets those improvements, right? So so he says no. After he asked it, then so he answered. He said, "Ma'amacharisha and the sheni calls chusha tavaliyada." In other words, what he sold to them is at any angle. So therefore, right, if I would go ahead and steal land and I do improvements, okay. So we said over there, let's say according to Rabbi Shimon, it's really Mayor, right? That right, that it was whether it's mechso, shlish, or so I guess a certain amount as a sharecropper. So too, the buyer would have the same rights as opposed to everything being just seized by the rightful owner. So by Rava, what about this case? What about Abi Kachavim went ahead and improved it? So he says, Rabachim Mediv to the Ravina said, the Abi Kachavim, right? Niku, Vinava, I understand. So we're asking a takana, if a guy goes ahead and steals land and improves it, do you want to get takana on behalf of Abi Kachavim who are thieves, right? So maybe he stole it and sold it to a Jew. Right? So so why should make it that on their behalf? They sold the rightful, the rights to them, and therefore someone would buy it because they have those rights. Right? So what? Nevertheless, since it's through the Avikhavim, it doesn't make sense. So the Tzricha could go into Gaza Yisrael. A Jew stole it. It is Zavna Nilei, and then he sold it to an Avikhavim. Ishbicha Avikhavim approved it. Then he sold to another Jew. So, what do we say in that case? Do we say, Kevin the Mikar Yisrael, Vahada Yisrael? Do we say in the Ma'aseh that the first person who stole it was a Jew? And then the person who ended up with the shevach was also a Jew. Avdi Rabbanan Takanas, and therefore there was takana. Dilma came and the Avi Kavim Bamsa, but since the Avi Kavim was in the middle, Layavdi Hula Rabbanan Takanas, so therefore the Rabbanan did not make a takana and take it. The Gemara does not give it theirs. So Amar Papa Haidman, the Gazel Diklo Mechafre, a person goes ahead and steals a palm tree from his friend, and i.e. he chops it down. The Kalavi Afak of the Shadia Mayara, and then he took it home to his different land Layara D-Day. Like Kadi, he does not acquire it at my time. What's the reason? So Eddie touched on this a little bit yesterday, or maybe 2 days ago. Kara Dikla Mikre, Vahashta Nami Dikla Mikre. In the beginning, it was called a palm tree, and now it's still called a palm tree, right? When you just cut it down, it's still called a palm tree. So there is no Shinoi shame. It's still called the same thing. So therefore, there was no real change. If it's no real change, it was the same object that was owned by the original, from the original owner, and therefore the item goes back to him.
Except in one case, it's planted.
But it doesn't make a difference. It's still called a palm tree. It's still called a palm tree. So now we Dikla make it. So Dikla V'Aviguva also like a person goes ahead, even he takes a palm tree, he makes it into logs, right? Also, it's not quite a why. It's still called palm tree logs. So however, let's say he had the logs and he made them into beams, then indeed he would go ahead and acquire it, right? Because now it has a different shape, right? So and therefore that case he would so kshuri ravri vavdi kshuri zutri. Let's say there's longer boards or longer beams that made him the shorter ones, like kani, right? Because obviously this is like kani. Right now, in that case, he doesn't acquire them because it's still called beams. However, if he goes ahead and made these the beams into smaller boards, then he does acquire it. So beams into beams is not a change. Beams into boards, different words, Shin Hashem, therefore he would acquire it. Yes, yeah. Or tree, logs, beams, board, right. So Amar Rava Haiman, the Gazel Lulava, the Avdina Hutse, a person goes ahead and steals a lulav, and then he basically separates the leaves. So he has acquired it. Because in the beginning it was called a lulav, and now Bahashta Hutsi, and now it's called leaves. Right, they're all separated. Hutsi, if he went ahead and he took leaves, right, and then he went ahead and made it into a broom, then he has acquired it. Because Meikara Hutsi, Bahashta Chufia. So in the beginning there were leaves, and now it's a broom. Chufia Vavdi Shashua, let's say it was a broom. Then he tied them all together, made a rope. Like honey is not quite a why. My time to other because he can go ahead and do it, unravel it, and it'll become a broom again. So right, the tip of a lulav split. Mahu. So if I took a lulav, I stole a lulav, and then the lulav split. What is halacha? Is it still the same item or not? If it's the same item, then you just return the item. If it's not the same item, then I have to go ahead and repay the owner the value at the time of the theft. So Tashmak and listen, the Amar Rabbi Yosef, Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Nitla Hatziyamis puzzle, right? If the Tiyamis was cut off, was taken away, then it's puzzle. So you see it's puzzle, right? So originally it was a kosher lulav, and now it's a puzzle lulav. So my lab wadila necklace, and the same thing with splitting. That it also be puzzle, and therefore you've acquired it through now you have a puzzle. Well, it says low nitla shani. No, maybe if you're removing it is different. Why? The chaser because it's considered to be chaser. And you get some of the different version. Tashmak almost levi nechla tiyames. If it's split, nasa kamisha nutla. It's made as if it was removed. Upasul and pasul ushmamina, and therefore indeed that it has gone through a change. It has gone from a kosher lulav to a pasul lulav, and therefore it's considered to be a shinoi shem, and he's acquired it. And Amar Papa Haiman the Gazel Afra Mechami. A person goes ahead and stole dirt from his friend. The Avde Levin said he goes ahead and makes it into a brick. Lo Kani. He has not acquired it. My time, what's the reason? The Hadar Mashali Afra, right? Because the Hadar Mashali Afra Levin. So he said in this case, because he can go ahead and he can make it into dirt again, right? He can make it into dirt by just pulverizing it. Let's say he stole a brick and he made it into dirt. Kani, he's acquired it. Samai Marta, what are you going to say? So you go, okay, go ahead and take this dirt again and make it back into a brick, and therefore it's you stole a brick and now it's a brick. No, because yes, it is a brick now, but it's a different brick. Now it's if you take a brick, you crush it, and then you use that same dirt to make another brick. That is a brick, but it's a different brick, and therefore that's not the brick I stole, and therefore you're chayav to go ahead and pay him for the value of the brick at the time of the theft.
Okay,
If
so if he used the brick to make a brick wall,
So normally you have to give if it was the same item, you have to give the item back. If it was in a wall, you might have the takana that we had by the case of the beam, right?
Oh, okay.
It was a major loss, so it depends what you have to do to go ahead and remove it. But if it's the same item, then you return the item. If it's the item is different, i.e., it's called a different name or a different form, then you're chayav to pay the value at the time. So hi man, the goes on nascha. A person go ahead and he stole a let's say a block, let's say of gold or silver, whatever it is, and the oven zuzeh, and then he goes ahead and he makes it into coins. Like honey has not acquired it. Why? My time. You go ahead and melt it back into it, become a brick again. However, zuzeh but if let's say so, I'm sorry.
Different coin.
Right. Well, so now, so if he stole zuzeh, if he stole coins, it makes it into a brick. So honey. Right? Then he has acquired a Ma'amar. What do you say? How do I do this? So you can make coins again. And once again, like Mark said, Panim Chalash is by the Khan. These are different coins. And now as by a brick, it's not really identified by, it's just a weight. So therefore, it can be the same weight. It doesn't make a difference. But coins are considered to have his own shame. Therefore, coins are different. And finally, if let's say he had the older coins and he wants to go ahead and he shines them, right? He tarnishes it, right? So he goes ahead and he cleans them. So now, so he has not acquired it, right? By just so if he took old ones, he made them clean. Is still the same thing. Like he's not quite a chadasi. In new ones, shechmi. Then he goes ahead and he tarnishes them. Then kani is acquired it. So my mark to say hadar chadasi. You're going to make it new again, removing the tarnish. So you can tell basically that it was once tarnished and it's not the original state, and therefore, since it was an original state, it's considered to be like a new item, and therefore the person would be chayiv. So he said in the Mishnah, last line of the Mishnah said, so whenever it says this is the rule, so every time, or most times when the Mishnah or a Brisa says this is the rule, so it comes to include something that wasn't stated in there. So lasuye mai, so lasuye had amar Rabbi Allah. Gun of tle. So let's say I stole a tle. Vanasa ayil. I stole a young a sheep, or I guess whatever turns into a ram, right? Or a young lamb, I guess, right? Or an ayil, or he stole an egel. Vanasa shore. He stole a calf and became a shore, a bull. Nasa shinui biyadai the kami. Right, so the shinui was done in his, right? He stole a lamb, and now it's a ram. It's a different item, right? And therefore, if he's tavach or machar, if he goes ahead and shacks it and sells it, shalohu taveach, shalohu meicher. Now, normally, if a person steals, is a ganav, he has to pay 4 or 5. If he steals and shacks it and eats it or whatever it is, so over here, but it's not considered to be shechting the stolen object. Why? Stolen object's gone. Why? Because you stole a calf and now it's a bull. It's a different item. I didn't shecht or I didn't consume the calf. So therefore, you're not chayiv dal chamisha. You might be chayiv the kefel, but you're not chayiv dal chamisha because that which I shechted was really I shechted my own and not the person I stole it from. Now, how gava the gazal padna? There's a person who went ahead and he stole a what's it called? He stole some oxen from somebody else, right? The gazal padna tarmei and azil and karabahu. So he So he went ahead and he stole it and he plowed with him and Zarba Zara, and then he seeded the field after he plowed the field with the stolen oxen. And also the Kame, the Rav came before. Oh, excuse me. So the Sefajin Lamari. Then later on they returned it to the owners. Says, "Oh, here are your oxen back. My bad. Right? Didn't mean to steal yours." So that's the Rav Nachman. Samalu Zilu Shumo Shivcha Deshbiach. Go ahead and see how much he benefited, how much his field increased in value due to his stealing these animals and using them to plow. Similarly, Rava. Torah Yashbiach, Arla Yashbiach, understand. So just the oxen was the ones who raised the value of the land, and the land itself didn't grow it. What are you making Uchai to pay everything? Samalei, me coming in Hashem Kulei. Who said I said it assess everything? Palga coming, I meant the half. Samalei, I Saif Gazelu, the call Hadra Bein. I understand it was a Gazela, and he returned the object. The time called Gazana Mishabak Kashas Gazela. You return the Shas Gazela, it's the same value. Samalei. I didn't tell you, don't say with me in court cases when I judge monetary cases. Don't tell me anything. Damar Huna Chavrin Elias. So our great friend Rav Huna said about me. Ana v'Shramalka, me and Shramalka, which is a name for Shmuel. So he said, Achi Bedina, he is my brother in Din, and therefore we judge money cases our own way. Don't get involved. And Ha'inish, this person over here, why we obligate not just return the ox, he should be okay. No, we make him pay for all half the Shevach. Why? Ha'inish, Kazana Asikahu, Ubiyana, Deacon say, right? This guy is a long-time thief, a lifetime thief, and therefore he continues to do this, and therefore we got to go ahead and lay down the hammer. And therefore, that's the reason why they're obligated more than really a first-time offender would have had. Fine. Naya Mishnah. Mishnah says, Gaza, we've seen this one before, because of Behema Vizikina, a person steals an animal and it gets old. Avadim, or he steals an Eved, nice young, strong Eved, Vizikino, and then becomes old. Mishalim Kashasek Zela. You have to go ahead and basically reimburse the owner when he had a nice young 35-year-old slave as opposed to an 86-year-old slave.
What if they have children, animal or slaves?
So that's what we discussed last time. That's the shevach. And so we had a sheet that says that the peiros and blood of Sehen go to the original owner, and others say not. So Rameir Kavadim, we said when it comes to Avadim, when it comes to an Aved, he can say, you know what, take him back. Doesn't make a difference if he got old. So Gaza Matbeya, let's say he stole a coin and he's not going to crack, or pears for kiva, or stole fruit and he rotted, or yayin v'hichmitz and he stole wine and it's soured. The shalim kashas exera, right? I stole a valuable coin. It was now cracked. It's not no longer a valuable coin. It's a crack coin or anything else, and therefore you pay the value when you stole it. However, Matbeya, so let's say I stole a lira, and then it went out of circulation. Or truma of an itmes, or truma became tame, or chametz. I stole chametz, stole a bottle of yours of booze, and then it was chametz shavar pesach. Now it's worthless, shavar pesach, or behema, or an animal of the navda of air. Then they say they worshipped it. It's now possible. You have to destroy it. Shanim salami al gavizbech has some sort of a moon, a small moon, which makes it possible he's back. Or let's say gourd, and now it has they have to go ahead and stone it. Amar lo, in these cases, here you can take it back. Since there was no physical change to the item, it's not called something different. So therefore, he's allowed to go ahead and say, here, take your bottle of chametz back. So yes, right now we're zero because chametz pesach, but the physical item is there. Therefore, you're allowed to go ahead and say harei shachal lefanech. So Amarav Papa Zak Gemara, Lo Yiskina Mamish doesn't mean when they got old, only old. Even if the guy weakened, right? He had to pay for the original blood. It says he got old. So Chasha could go in his kina. I was talking about a weaken like getting old, meaning the loy hadar barrier. In other words, it can't go back. In other words, let's say it's just weak because he didn't feed the guy. So okay, you feed the guy, he'll be back to normal. But if it can't get back to normal, like age doesn't go back, then therefore you have to go ahead and reimburse him from the beginning. And Amarle Markashisha buried Rav Chizil, Rav Ashi. Hachi Kamri Mishmei Rav Yechran. Afilu Ganav Tleh Vanasa Ayil. He steals a lamb and it becomes a ram, or egg of Vanasa Shore, or a calf and it becomes a bull. Right? Nasa Shinui Biyado. The change has happened in his hand, the kano, and therefore he has acquired the item. And if he is Tavach or Machar, if he let's say shechs it or sells it, Shalom Tovech, Shalom Ma'iter, right? He's selling his own and he's not selling somebody else's, and therefore he's not chayav the Davach Hamisha. So you gotta be careful. Did I not warn you? You gotta be careful not to switch around names. That was not said in their name that you quoted before. Rather, that was said in the name of Rabbi Eloi. And Rameir says, when it comes to Avadim, you can say you can go ahead and take it back. Why? Because Avadim are like land, right? Land is not stolen. It's sitting right over here. I can't steal land and make it change. Rather, here is the land. It's been here the whole time. So you can say Harei Shechal Fanecha with an Eved, just like you say with land. So Amarav Chanina Bar Avdimi, Amarav Halakha Rameir. The Halakha is like Rameir, that we treat Avadim like land. I've Rav Shavik Rabbanim, the Avik Rameir. I understand Rav holds like Rameir Yachid as opposed to Rabbanim. So I'm going to say Mishum the Bryce no, because he has another Bryce that flips around the Shitas, that over there is the Chaman, so therefore he says it over here. So it says Mishum Deraisa Ivcha Tanya. Rav Shavik Masnis Vav Kabraisa. I understand. So then Rav leaves our Mishnah, right, and goes like the Braisa, right? Say because it switches on the Shitas. So Rav Masnis and Nam Ivcha Tanya. So Rav also switched around the Mishnah. So it says, so my time at the Rav the Apik Masnis and Makni the Braisa. Why would Rav switch around a Mishnah, right, between Rameir and Chamim, right, versus a Brisa? Either Rabba, not the Brisa, but we assume that the Mishnah is more accurate, so we should switch around the Brisa, instead of the Mishnah. Somebody say, no. You misunderstood what we said. Rav Nami Masnis and Ivcha, right? Now, Rav also had, the Mishnah over there, also, our Mishnah be the same as the Brisa. Therefore, since it was switched around, so therefore both the sheet is over there and the sheet is over here. Both say that that we treat it that the avadim like what's it called? That we treat the chachamim. As halach is like the sheet that says an evet is like karka, right? So which over here, our case, it was different than when Rav had. Rav had both of these being chachamim. So according to Rav, it was really chachamim. But over here, since it was written as Rav Meir, so therefore he says halach k'Rav Meir. Or Viboy Sema, Kilo Apich, when does he not switch? It's Chad Makmi Chad. If it's 1 versus 1, then he doesn't switch a Bryce or a Mishnah for one another. However, Chad Makmi Tarti, but if you have one Mishnah and 2 Bryces against it, then Apich, then you would go ahead and switch around a Mishnah for a Bryce. And what's the other Bryce? At the time of the Bryce, Hamachli Para B'chamar. So let's say I go ahead and I do an exchange with somebody. Okay, you can have my cow, and I'll take your donkey. The Yoda, and let's say both animals were not in their location. So let's say the para was farther away, and all of a sudden they get there and it gave birth. Or let's say he sells a shivcha, and they go there to tell the shivcha, he goes to collect, and she gave birth. So one says, no, she gave birth while it was in my possession still. The other guy says, I don't know. So Zachaba, so the one who's certain, he regrets it. However, if each one says, I don't know, then Yachloku, then they divide it 50-50. And Zelmer B'Shusi, let's say this says, no, the baby was born while I owned it, before I sold it. And the other says, no, the baby was born after I bought it.
Right.
Yishava HaMeicher Shevesuso Yoda. The seller says, no. He swears that I swear that she gave birth before the sale. Right. Therefore, when you buy the woman, I get to keep the baby and you get the woman. Why? Because when we find the oaths that are written in the Torah, because those cases are normally a person makes a shvua not to pay. So therefore over here, I'm making a shvua, therefore I don't pay you the baby or I don't give you the baby. And the Chachamim say in this case, right? We don't make a shvua, not an avadim, not karkos. We wouldn't make a shvua in this case. So we see the Chachamim is not in the Rabbi Meir, but rather it's the Chachamim who treats avadim like land. So the Gemara says,
and when they both say Negodea, you split the
that's the Achloku.
You split the baby.
The value of the effort. Right? It's not it's not about who loves it more. It's just the value. I guess they have to go ahead and sell it. So the Gemara says, "Hi, halakha Meir." Is that's good? Halakha Rabbanan. It should be halakha Rabbanan because you're only saying halakha is like Meir because it's like the sheet of the Rabbanan the other ways, but it's really halakha Rabbanan. So that which we switch around, and once we switch around that in our Mishnah, which our mayor says he's the one in our Mishnah who says that an Eva is like Karka. So therefore, we go like that Shita, like our mayor after we switch. And tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem, we will continue this discussion. It goes further down. Everyone have a wonderful day. Shkeach.